Yakuza is back, but this time there's 4 Yakuzas. Except 2 of them are not Yakuza, and one of them isn't Yakuza anymore, and the other one kinda isn't Yakuza anymore. For now anyway. Yakuza 4 might be one of the most overlooked Yakuzas of all. Except for Dead Souls and Kenzan and definitely the PSP games and maybe also the Fist of the North Star spin-off game. But it is somewhat overlooked sometimes because it is dab in the middle of the series. In the middle of the PS3 entries as well. So if someone is turned off by the clunkiness of Yakuza 3, they may not go on to play Yakuza 4. And Yakuza 5 sort of being Yakuza 4 but even bigger means that 4 gets overshadowed by 5. And yet Yakuza 4 might be one of the most peak games, and for one simple reason. Actually no, let me rephrase that. Yakuza 4 might be one of the most disappointing games, and for one simple reason. And between playing it for the first time years ago and replaying it not too long ago, I consumed a lot of Yakuza 4 memes. It taught me much about how the selfish deed is not, indeed, freedom. That's when I realized that this shit was one of the bombest Yakuza tracks ever made. I was hyped to re-experience Yakuza 4, especially to experience 4 Faith and its groundbreaking lyrical work in its original context, alright? To my dismay, the original context doesn't exist. There is none. There's 4 versions of the song playing in the game, but not the vocal version. And upon further research, I found out that it only plays in the installed screen of the PS3 version of the game. What the fuck? Still, of course, Yakuza 4 has things going for it that set it apart from the other entries, that make it special in its own right. The game is set in parkour civilization Kamurocho, where we are straight up jumping it, and with it I mean, well, you know. Kamurocho has stayed the same in some ways, but also changed in some ways. Honestly, this game's Kamurocho may just be the most unique one in series history, as we can access both the underground and the rooftops of the mainstay city in this one. Savor it, won't be able to do that again anytime soon. But it's not just special because it has been extended, but also because this iteration of it happens to have an especially thick atmosphere. I can almost smell the vomit on the sidewalk. A lot of things that would one day become staples of these games have its roots in the 3rd and 4th Yakuza, like karaoke and a whole lot of other minigames. The Sodachi Dojo is also similar to side modes in later games. These days Yakuza is known for its fun-ass cabaret club minigame, but that shit had humble roots, believe me. Cause in Yakuza 3 and 4, oh boy, that shit is ass. Yakuza 4 also features the origins of multiple iconic characters, and it's the first Yakuza with multiple protagonists, and it has a bomb-ass soundtrack, and it has some really stupid-ass plot twists. And that's what Peak is really all about. The legend of the Yakuza 4 begins with a man who is not Yakuza. Akiyama is a funny little guy, doing funny little guy things, such as being extremely rich and lending money to funny little people who pass his funny little tests. He was once a homeless man, until he got a bunch of money, which was raining from the sky, and invested said money, and now runs a money-lending business, in the name of Sky Finance, with his assistant and one of Japan's strongest fighters, Hana-chan, lending his money only to those he deems worthy, such as this random small organized crime family of the Tojo clan. And this very family runs into a bit of territorial trouble which comes with the territory. Part of this Tojo outfit are Kido, who is a guy indeed, and his sworn brother Arai, who Akiyama has placed his hopes and dreams upon, and who goes sicko mode and kills a guy. After meeting another not Yakuza like him, Akiyama is arrested for standing next to a dead body. After that follows an even more exciting part of the game, where we can go to work and face off against lame Scout. Akiyama also meets this guy on the roof, who really wants to train him, which he does by shooting him with an AK. This part of the game is so ass, man. Speaking of ass, if Yakuza 3 is Blockuza 3, then this goddamn game, it's Scrapkuza 4. Look at this. Now, look at this. Now, look at this. Anyway, just as Akiyama looks at a picture of his sad backstory girlfriend, a woman the spitting image of her walks in to get a loan. She doesn't seem to know Akiyama, and he shows himself willing to help her with a small loan of 100 million, as long as she passes his tests. For tests, she has to go work in one of his seedy businesses and also go on a date with him. Huh? Oh, and by the way, this whole thing about her looking like his ex is never going to be relevant. They are not the same person, nor related in any way. Just thought I should mention that. And also, by the way, there's currently a series of murders occurring in the city, and the newest one of the series is, so we learn from Kido's boss. And also the police want to take us in for meddling with the Yakuza too much, but we just run away. And also a bunch of goons attack Sky Finance, but Hana fights them off easily. And also policeman Sugiyuchi keeps being annoying. And also Akiyama makes out with a woman named Lily. And also more Shibata goons. As Akiyama keeps goofing off, Hana keeps trying to make Akiyama actually work and make money for the office, which he is very opposed to. Yet not even he has the strength to deny Hana for too long. As he's on his way to visit a client of his, he happens upon a bar that Lily had claimed to have worked at. For one though, it's a crossdresser bar and Lily is not a crossdresser. And for two, there's a dead Shibata goon inside. Oh no. Goons attack Sky Finance once again. again, except this time Hana-chan alone can't stop the assault. And also this time they are not Shibata. And also this time they kidnap Kido, who Akiyama then goes to save. The goons, by the way, may not have been Shibata, but still work to do his bidding, trying to find Lily. Lily is getting ready to leave town, but before that, Akiyama confronts Lily about her killing a bunch of people, about which she doesn't care to indulge much of anything at all. She then leaves, and Hana also quits the office and leaves, and Akiyama is all alone. Par for the course, even more Yakuza goons are going around looking for Lily, causing trouble in one of Akiyama's humble establishments. One of those goons is Minami, a Majima family man, who has a talent for karaoke that really should be kept hidden, and also has a talent for getting his ass whooped by us. After the ass whooping, Majima himself comes by to reveal Lily's name is actually Yasuko, and to reveal that he is looking for her to protect her, and to reveal that he has to do so because he fucked up back in 1985. In the Yakuza series first, we switch perspectives and change to the second protagonist, Saejima Taiga, who is the sworn brother of Schizo and Chief Yakuza baller Majima. Long ago, Majima and Saejima were to slaughter a competing Yakuza family, the Ueno Sewa. Sadly, Majima did not show up, which led Saejima to do it all by himself. Consequently, he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in the joint, where there is a lot of fun to be had. Saejima had made peace with all this, until Hamasaki shows up, the guy who stabbed Kiryu in the last game for some reason. He delivers the bad news that the boss of the family he killed is alive and thriving, and that his own family is long gone. Also, Majima not showing up was apparently always part of the plan. The piece Saejima had made is now in the trash. The time has come to escape prison, fighting his way through 1 billion guards and the CEO of shit boss fights, together with Hamasaki, who makes a little detour to get some dirt on the operators of the slightly illegal prison, and whom he sadly loses on the way out. Had I mentioned that this high-security prison is in Okinawa? Quite convenient a coincidence, that is, because upon his escape, Saejima washes up on the beach by the Morning Glory orphanage, thus meeting the retired Dragon of Dojima, and also meeting Haruka, but we're not gonna talk about that, okay? Saejima introduces himself as Suzuki, and Kiryu is like, damn, that's a cool-ass name, gotta remember that one. He also makes up some bullshit story which Kiryu knows to be bullshit. As any meeting with Kiryu has to go, and any meeting with Saejima has to go, the two fight, quite possibly for the first time in the whole series. Kiryu actually might have found his match, except for the part where Saejima is injured and loses consciousness right after uttering the name Hamasaki, the very name of Kiryu's favorite attempted murderer. Knowing that he's a friend of such a swell guy, he immediately decides to help him and sends him on his way back to Tokyo, where another encounter takes place. Fate or convenience? Call it. Kido, Yakuza-gun from chapter 1, is here and helps Saejima after some persuasion to lead him to the secret Tokyo information overlord, the Florist, who might be able to tell him what happened to his old boss. The Florist, as he does, makes Saejima take part in the Colosseum fight, where Saejima fucking wrecks. But stops short before killing, for the last time he killed had taught him a valuable lesson. Killing is bad. Of course, in true Florist manner, that very thing was a test, which Saejima passed by not killing, yes. He also reveals the truth that a while back, his boss was almost killed, and then later brought to purgatory by Majima. He is actually here now, physically, just not quite mentally, I regret to say. The last thing Saejima must do is confront Majima, Kido helping him out and getting to him without being spotted by the coppers. Saejima goes through a whole army of Majima grunts, plus his mini-me Minami. And then meets the man himself, who gives him the VIP treatment, and then of course they fight. And Saejima finally finds out that Majima too was played 25 years ago, and that the whole thing was a plot by Shibata. We also finally see the flashback of Majima getting tortured and losing his eye, so that's fun. The next protagonist we meet is Tanimura, who we have actually met before, just less playable back then. He is one of the non-Yakuza Yakuza 4, yet he acts more Yakuza than some Yakuza. He regularly takes part in gambling while on duty, shakes down illegal businesses, and the worst sin of all, plays mahjong. Now obviously that means that this is not a good man. He's a very loose cannon sort of cop, earning the concern of his superiors and prompting them to warn him to not end up like his father, who met his demise after investigating the Ueno Sewa. Tanimura is interested in the mess that Akiyama and Saejima have already been entangled in because he hopes to find his father's murderer, specifically following the lead of Yasuko, knowing she was connected to his father's case in some form. As soon as he finds Yasuko, she is abducted by a bunch of goons, and after following them he eavesdrops on the most interesting conversation. Shibata, who orchestrated the 1985 incident with Katsuragi, tells Arai about how he's trolling the Tojo clan and Daigo, and is then shot by Arai because because he's actually more of a Katsuragi guy than a Shibata guy, you know. After rescuing Yasuko, Tanimura gets some information from her about how his father knew there was a powerful third party pulling the strings of the 85 incident, and about how the reason for murdering a bunch of people was that Katsuragi promised to help save Saejima from prison if she did. Yasuko leaves for Okinawa, knowing Saejima is scheduled to be executed within days, and not knowing that Saejima is long gone from prison. Our cop friend, meanwhile, is using Yasuko's money as bait for Katsuragi to come over and tell him the truth about what happened to his father. He does tell a lot of truth, but not quite the truth we want to hear, and then he leaves us in a trap of his own, which Tanimura only survives thanks to his police friends showing up. What follows is the most comically short chapter in the Yakuza series, called Door to the Truth, because it doesn't contain much more than one conversation and a walk through a door into a room. We do learn that Sugiuchi, his police senpai, was involved in the investigation with his father, and that's it. That's the chapter. Tanimura goes over to Sky Finance to return Yasuko's money, but Akiyama doesn't want to accept that shit cause he's down bad for her and needs her to still have a reason to return to him. Still, they go on to jointly rack their brains and exchange information about the case, which has Tanimura decide to use an Ueno Sewa goon who is on the evil man's shit list as bait to lure out the police traitor who helped orchestrate all this shit. Doing so leads to the goon's death at the hands of Sugiuchi, who of course was the saucy Baka imposter among us all along. He wasn't even a policeman, he was Yakuza. Not just that, he was also the one who killed Tanimura's father, and also Katsuragi's sworn brother. And now comes the point where the truth unravels, and with the truth I don't mean the truth of the plots and schemes and secrets of the characters of this story, but rather the truth that Yakuza 4, this very Yakuza 4, actually has the most bonkers batshit insane story of all these games. And it starts with this, rubber bullets. What's that mean, you may ask? Well, Katsuragi, way back in 85, was the real killer of all those men Saejima thought to have killed. Saejima's guns were actually filled with rubber bullets, and after shooting 18 men with these rubber bullets, Katsuragi then killed them himself with real bullets. Then Sugiuchi non-lethally shot Katsuragi and his boss. All this so Katsuragi could rise through the ranks, I guess. If you're confused by all this, do not worry. That is the correct reaction here. Munakata, nowadays chief of the police, saw through their bizarre scheme and made them his bitches. He is now the king of evil, the corruption runs all the way to the top, etc, etc. After explaining all of this, the imposter is ejected by some mysterious gunman. There's one imposter remaining, his police chief Hisai, who immediately unalives himself, as modern parlance would have it. Of course this game is called Yakuza 4, which is why we are granted control of one more guy, inconspicuous fellow going by the name of Kiryu, who's just trying to chill in the orphanage he manages. Sadly, fate has other things in store for him, as convicted criminals keep washing up on his beach. He has taken care of the first of them already, but now Hamazaki, who stabbed him not too long ago, is in need of some help. Haruka, his daughter by all accounts but biology, is not a fan of that, what with his stabbing and all, but Kiryu is a forgiving man, too forgiving perhaps, and in exchange for his help he gets some tea about Saejima and Majima and the hit of 85, and also about how it relates back to the Jingu money from Yakuza 1, and how the corruption goes all the way to the top of the police and Yakuza cooperating to create the biggest and best crime economy you have ever seen. The end goal of it all, so the magic book of plot says, is for the police to replace the Tojo clan with the Ueno Sewa clan, the police them being in control. Seeing Haruka disturbed by the prospect of Kiryu diving headfirst back into conspiracy-riddled Kamurocho, Hamazaki decides to call it all off and to turn himself into the police. But while heading over there, the two of them encounter Yasuko, who is looking for a way to meet her brother. The two tell her that his brother is long gone, back in Tokyo, and they all decide to head over there, although the CEO of shit boss fights tries to stop them. Hamazaki stays behind for he knows it's time to die a dramatic death, and the other two head down to Kamurocho. There we meet Date, and also learn that Saejima first joined the Yakuza to save Yasuko's life, which is why she is now going around killing people. We then head over to Millennium Tower to see Majima, after getting a hot tip from Date. Sadly, Saejima is contagious and Majima is already getting arrested, apparently having been ratted out by Daigo of all people. This shit is getting messy all the damn time. Saejima, meanwhile, has been abducted in purgatory by the bizarre tag team of Katsuragi and Hiro. This is also the point when Saejima learns that thanks to rubber bullets, he actually never killed anyone. Yasuko gave Date and Kiryu the slip and, with the help of the non-Yakuza of the Yakuza 4, goes to purgatory to also get abducted. On her trail, Kiryu encounters the lone shark and the dirty cop, and destroys them. Of course, in the Yakuza verse, that is how you become friends. The Yakuza 3 forge a plan to save the siblings, while also realizing that Kido stole Akiyama's 100 billion yen that were just sitting in his treasury behind the bookshelf. But in true Akiyama fashion, he also doesn't really care. Kiryu calls Katsuragi to make a trade offer, one of the biggest and best trade deals yet, namely beating up the entire clan and giving evil man the Book of Plot, and in exchange getting the siblings and the money back. I am sure that's not a trap or anything. Things will not start making any more sense now, by the way. Kiryu easily beats up an entire clan of people and gives back the leverage he has, upon which Katsuragi is just like, man, you really are fucking stupid, huh? And has Kido shoot them, except that doesn't quite work because he shoots him instead, and then reveals that he was working for Arai the whole time, who rewards him by shooting him. It also turns out that Katsuragi was wearing a bulletproof vest, and Saejima decides that killing really is bad, and lets the guy lie there, right next to a gun. You stupid fucking ape. We get maybe the worst ever. Everything is safe, but we let the bad guy lie next to a loaded gun sequence in all of Yakuza. And Yasuko dies. Well, not before someone still standing for a hot minute killing Katsuragi with the power of fear and gun. But then she really dies. We see Arai report his true secret big boss, the evil policeman. They scheme to get the money back, and the boss gives Arai a gun. And, well, let's say the chain of betrayals wasn't quite over yet. The four jabronis sit around after the tragedy they experienced, and Haruka gives us a call to add some tragedy to the pile, namely Hamasaki's death. Kiryu and Saejima decide that maybe it's time to go a little balls out, and the non-Yakuza too agree. They then realize that the plot of this game is so confusing that nobody really knows who the true enemies are, especially because like 3 of the main antagonists are already dead. So their Hail Mary plan is to just put a big pile of money on the Millennium Tower roof so that hopefully the main villain of this game shows up so we can beat up the main villain. Now in a dualist sense this just happens so we can have a bunch of epic fights on the top of the Millennium Tower, but you're not catching me complaining, you know. And so the glorious Yakuza 4 embark to the Millennium Tower. We are the Yakuza 4. Their plan works, maybe even too well, attracting antagonists like flies. Turns out there's actually 4 main villains here. Kido, who survived and who has been working for Daigo. Arai, who was working for Munakata and was actually an undercover cop. He was the reverse Sugiyuchi, so to speak, though he is now only working for himself. Munakata, who is back from the dead thanks to rubber bullets. And Daigo, because this is Yakuza 4 and we need a 4th boss fight for a 4th playable character. Through these battles of ideals, everyone has gone back to being chill, outside of Munakata, who does really suck. He tells the heroes that he has won anyway, for he is the police. That is until Helicopter Date spawns to tell the whole city of his crimes, which prompts him to shoot Akiyama and also himself. Luckily Akiyama's true love is there to protect his life. Didn't think we'd end the Yakuza without a fake out death, did ya? After all that, Akiyama goes back to work at Sky Finance with a transmogrified Hana. Date and Tanimura go back to the police, Kiryu goes back to life in Okinawa, and Saejima goes back to being a Yakuza. 4.